From the first moment we set foot inside a classroom, society whispers a silent command. Obey, sit still, follow instructions, wait your turn. And for most, this quiet indoctrination becomes second nature, so much so that we stop noticing it altogether. We follow rules not because we understand them, but because they've always been there. Tradition becomes truth. Conformity becomes comfort. But what happens when someone refuses? When a person, without raising their voice, simply steps aside from the well-worn path and asks, "Why must I obey?" According to philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, this refusal is not just rebellion, it is a threat, a dangerous mirror that forces society to see its own passive submission. Those who think for themselves, even in silence, become outcasts not because they are wrong, but because they are terrifying. Their existence exposes the illusions we live by. And that, Nietzsche believed, is why the world despises the truly free. Friedrich Nietzsche did not view obedience as inherently evil. In fact, he saw it as a deeply human instinct. From primitive tribes to modern governments, obedience has always served one vital function: survival. Unity, after all, is strength. Groups that function in harmony are more likely to endure threats, adapt, and thrive. Rules ensure order, hierarchies provide clarity, obedience keeps the machine running. But Nietzsche also saw the cost. As obedience hardens into custom and custom into law, something profound is lost: the individual. In a society obsessed with survival, those who refuse to conform are not merely inconvenient, they're dangerous. They remind others that obedience is a choice, not a law of nature. And when people realize they've been choosing submission all along, they feel not enlightenment, but shame. Nietzsche believed that most people are governed not by rational thought, but by what he called the herd instinct. This instinct seeks safety in numbers, belonging over truth, and comfort over growth. The herd doesn't want to be challenged, it wants to be reassured. Anyone who deviates threatens the fragile illusion that safety lies in sameness. This is why disobedience is often met with hostility. It's not the content of the rebellion that alarms the herd, it's the act itself. The disobedient soul reminds others that there are alternatives, that their routines, their jobs, their politics, even their morality may all be inherited illusions, and no one likes to realize they built their life on sand. To disobey, then, is to tear a hole in the collective fabric. And the herd will often respond not with curiosity, but with aggression. What makes disobedience so unsettling is not always noise, but silence. The person who refuses to participate, who abstains from the chant, who walks away instead of marching, this figure is especially dangerous. Why? Because they do not debate or argue. They do not need to convince. Their presence alone is an indictment. Nietzsche warned of the free spirit, the one who, by merely existing differently, causes others to question their obedience. These are the philosophers, the wanderers, the madmen. They do not fit, and they do not want to. They provoke not through violence, but through authenticity. And to a world built on pretending, the authentic person is a living rebuke. This is why the world hates the quiet rebel. Not because they are evil, but because they cannot be tamed. In On the Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche introduces the idea of slave morality, a value system created by the weak to constrain the strong. According to him, those who cannot rise above prefer to pull others down. They exalt humility, obedience, and meekness not because they are noble, but because they are survivable. This morality demonizes disobedience. Those who challenge the system are not just independent, they're dangerous, selfish, evil. And so, society wraps chains in virtue. It tells us that questioning authority is immoral, that thinking differently is antisocial, and that freedom is a threat to others. But Nietzsche saw through this masquerade. He believed that true strength lies in those who create their own values, who disobey, not out of anger, but out of vision. What does it mean to disobey in the Nietzschean sense? It is not simply defiance, it is creation. Disobedience, when it arises from strength, is an act of revaluation. The true rebel does not just destroy old idols, he builds new temples. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power is not about dominance over others, but about mastery over oneself. It is the drive to shape the world according to your highest values. The obedient follow maps. The free spirit makes maps. And in doing so, they become a threat to every structure built on blind repetition. Society does not merely dislike such people, it fears them. Because where they walk, revolutions begin. History is filled with those who disobeyed and paid the price. Socrates drank hemlock, Jesus was crucified, Galileo was imprisoned, Nietzsche himself died in obscurity, considered insane. To challenge the moral foundations of the herd is to invite exile, if not physically, then psychologically. Nietzsche never romanticized this path. He knew that to walk alone is to suffer, but he also believed that this suffering is the price of greatness. The world cannot tolerate those who see too clearly, and so it punishes them, not because they are wrong, but because they are right too early. To disobey is to walk the edge of a blade, and yet Nietzsche believed it was the only path to authenticity. Nietzsche's ultimate challenge was not to reject all rules, but to become the kind of person who could create rules worth following. "Become who you are," he wrote, not as a slogan, but as a demand. This is the hardest form of rebellion, not against society, but against the parts of ourselves that long for comfort, safety, and approval. To disobey is not merely to say no, it is to say yes to something higher, a deeper truth, a life worth living. Those who do this are often misunderstood, exiled, or erased. But Nietzsche believed they are also the ones who carry humanity forward. Obedience maintains the world, disobedience transforms it. The world is built to reward obedience. It runs smoother when no one questions the rules. But smooth is not the same as right. Easy is not the same as true. Friedrich Nietzsche understood that the individual who dares to think, who dares to stand still while others march, becomes a living contradiction. And contradictions are not welcome in a world built on sameness. To disobey is to be hated, yes, but it is also to be free. The quiet rebel, the one who says, "I will not follow," carries more power than armies, for they prove that obedience is not destiny, it is a choice, and so is freedom. Thanks for listening.